Don in London, hello. It's August 31st. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour, or both, as in my case. My addictive substance, alcohol, so an alcoholic in recovery, and also to behaviour around people, places and things. Always wanting to be with the right people, in the right place, doing the right things, with the right things. Wanting. A perfect consumer, a perfect storm, if you like, in terms of not only contributing to society through hard work and effort, always chasing the next job, always saying yes to whatever was asked of me, and always looking to be in the right romance, always looking to fix myself with substances and behaviour. Now, it took a long time for me to understand what that meant, because of course when we're growing up we don't know what's going on for us. We don't know that maybe we are fearful of life because we don't really understand fear, because we don't know the opposite of fear, which is peacefulness and living life on life's terms without having to worry unduly about how we fit in. Yes, ignorance of my condition for many years, except that I knew from early days in my life that alcohol changed the way I felt about life. I didn't sit there or stand there and think, my word, alcohol fixes my feelings, enables me to feel joyful, happy, free, convivial, all those good emotions as we might see them, or feelings. But also the other side, which is where I pushed feelings away, like fear, so many, but the principal one was fear, which led to me putting on a brave face, and ego covering up what was missing inside me, which was a sense of my personal identity, that it was okay just to be me, and learning and making progress. It always seemed like I had some hurdle to overcome, mainly the one in my head, which said I wasn't good enough. So striving to be whatever you might want me to be, and then wondering why I couldn't actually make the cut, because I really didn't know what you wanted. And if you didn't know what you wanted, I certainly didn't know what I needed to do to fit in. So drink was always a companion, a friend. It was always there in times of good times and also in bad times. These days I don't drink a day at a time, and this has been going on for quite a while, and I've learned how it is to be sober, learning how my feelings fit with what is going on, learning why I need not fear most situations today, because I'm not expected to know the answers until the answers become apparent through experience. So I'm learning experience, strength and hope about how to live on a daily basis. And I was kept alive long enough by family, friends, community, medical people, professional people, when times got tough and I just didn't know how to cope anymore. I had a nervous breakdown as I saw the next big job being exactly the same as the previous job, just a pile more money for doing it. And I lost that thing of valuing myself against a currency, that currency being money, and a currency which was about, I don't know what, power, position, you name it. I don't know that I was ever power mad, but I certainly enjoyed a certain amount of power in relation to the types of work I did. And I really never really thought about it that deeply, other than a job needed to be done and I could do it, so I would do it, simple as that. But in terms of how I felt about it, I never felt quite right. Always fixing myself with my best friend, or being with people in the right place, doing the right thing. At least I thought so. Which often meant bigger, better holidays, bigger, better places to live, bigger and better relationships with people with bigger and better lives. But they're empty if you don't know who you are. You don't know how to love people. You don't know how to be loved back. And you really don't know how to be useful in your own life. So it's been an eye-opener over the last few years, just how to be sober and make my way gently, making progress, not perfect, and knowing it's okay not to know. Ignorance is useful if we have an empty gap to learn. So no longer do I fill the gap with alcohol or trying to fix myself with people, places and things. And how has this happened? Well, I didn't do it on my own. I didn't do it on my own. I needed help. And in the end, after I got dried out, after more than one occasion of being dried out, I suddenly found there was a fellowship. And that fellowship is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, which is dedicated to helping people live sober one day at a time. I never speak for AA. We are all equal within the fellowship. We are trusted servants, so there are no leaders as such. And that's brilliant, because if anybody told me what to do in fellowship, I'd be back out there drinking, I suspect, in my early days of recovery, thinking I don't need to subject myself to a set of rules, regulations, laws, which have never applied to me. And then it came as a surprise that there are no rules, laws or regulations in the fellowship. We simply are trusted servants who try to live open, honest, willing, in unity, service and recovery. And there are 12 steps, the 12-step program and the 12 traditions which hold the fellowship together. So I share a lot about the fellowship of AA, even though I don't represent it, because it's a great part of my life today. It helps me be sober, it being the fellowship, but more importantly, it is the people within the fellowship, from newcomers to old-timers. People have been in a few hours, to a few days, weeks or months, to old-timers who have been in for decades. We all have our experience of life to share, and we do it in a hopeful way, rather than it's all gone to shit and shine over. We don't know what to do next. So the good news is, from day one, if we find we can get the right amount of support, the amount of support required is different for different people. So we just don't know what it is until we start. And I don't know many people who have made a perfect start into sobriety. It takes time. Our feelings go all over the place as we are removing our best friend, alcohol. And the same goes for any other fellowship you might attend, for substances or behaviour. 12 steps in each, 12 traditions in each, if it's a fellowship of an anonymous type. Anonymity is sacrosanct, so that people can find their path without feeling like they're being watched by the outside world, and then people decide how they want to share their experience, strength and hope as life goes along. Some people tell everybody that they're in sobriety. Some people say not very much about it, because it's not relevant to other people to know about it. Personal choice. After all, that's what we're here for. Freedom of choice to live well, and if we can do it sober without having to fix ourselves, all the better for people like me with an ism. Anyway, I share the AA preamble here on this little card, and inside it has the 12 steps and 12 traditions, which you can't see, and then it has the serenity prayer in the back. So that's really what I share about. The preamble, what AA is there to do, what it can't do, can do, can't do. 12 steps, open, honest and willing to learn. 12 traditions, all about unity, service and recovery. And then the serenity prayer, which helps anyone and everyone on a daily basis work out what we can do and cannot do. Can do, I can change my attitude and behaviour. Cannot do, I can't change your attitude and behaviour. It's a personal change in how we look at the world. And I share from this book, Daily Reflections, which covers the 12 steps and 12 traditions, and August has been about step 8, made a list of amends to people we have harmed, and be willing to make them. A list and willing to make them. Not to go out and make them straight away, because that can do more harm than good, until we understand who we are and what we're trying to do, trying to establish about ourselves. And the daily reflections help me build on what are the steps in my life. So steps in action, the name of the video, that's what it's all about. 12 steps in action, 12 traditions in action, by what I do and what I perceive today. And most of all, I've learned how to love people, be loved back and useful in whatever endeavour I'm doing. And the usefulness of the endeavour is as I see it, and sometimes it's a big thing, sometimes it's a small thing, an endeavour nonetheless, and it's useful to me and others usually around me. So the AA preamble goes like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And in newcomers' meetings this AA preamble was on the wall. So, common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking, and there are no rules, laws or regulations to tell you what to do, or for other people to tell you what to do in order to fit in. You fit in once you have a desire to stop drinking. That's all you need. And although the fellowship is only there for one purpose, everybody who is in AA has their particular outlook, opinions, affiliations and connections in the outside world. So we all come in full of belief and opinion, and we share experience, strength and hope, which means sometimes we hear how other people live their lives and what's important to them, but we don't need to adopt their outlook. We just look for what might work for us. We look for the similarities and not the differences, and then sharing a message to others. That's the prime reason why we do it, sharing wisdom of what works today, and especially what didn't work, and highlights maybe a change needed in ourselves rather than the rest of the world, because as we're pointing at the world, 3 fingers are pointing back at me about my part in it. And so often we forget that a fellowship which is about unity, service and recovery, is not sitting there and doing nothing, although we sometimes do that, because that's all we can do, sit there and do nothing and listen. But by being there we are making a contribution, and you don't have to pay for it. You don't have to pay for anything. That's the good news. But we do actually work on putting a bit of money towards the meeting for rent, tea, coffee and literature, and the cost of the venue. So it's free at the point of entry. No one's going to demand money off you, but if you have a few pennies, then maybe you would like to contribute. Is what you choose to do. It's not essential, because enough of us have been about long enough to make a few pennies, and we never keep reserves of money, so money is never an issue. We don't have any, and that's good, because it keeps us focused on sobriety. Anyway, the AA Daily Reflection for today, and I have good news. The online Daily Reflections website is back up and running until the fellowship gets its act together and makes a link on its own website, so that people can just get the Daily Reflections as was meant, without paying for them. The only reason we collect money and ask people to pay for the books is because that's the cost of what the book costs to make. So if it's online, it's free, as is the AA Big Book, which is online free already, and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, which is online free. But I suspect it's a bit of a typing and amending job to actually get one up there on the main website. It's not an issue of money, it's an issue of accessibility, and the modern age of internet is something that we in fellowship are still learning how to utilise as best we can, and it does cause quite a problem around anonymity, because we don't promote, or rather, we do not promote. It's a question of attraction. So if you see what we've got and you like it, then you're attracted to the idea of being sober. If we promote it and say we can fix you, well, the answer is we can't fix you. So promotion is of no value overall in fellowship. Promoting the idea that you can be sober and fixed is not it. It's about making progress, attraction. What you see is what you get, seeing the similarities and making sense of them in your own life. Or if it's nonsense, rejecting it as such, nonsense. So the AA Daily Reflection for today, which is freely available on Online Reflections and hopefully on the main website soon, a unique program. Alcoholics Anonymous will never have a professional class. We have gained some understanding of the ancient words, freely ye have received, freely give. We have discovered that at the point of professionalism, money and spirituality do not mix. Or money and sobriety don't mix when it comes to trying to get sober. So a lot of organisations do make money out of people trying to get sober because they offer a service which suggests by the end of this service maybe you will be in a better place to be sober. The problem is sobriety is not dependent on being fixed. It's dependent on how we live one day at a time, live in the moment, and what it means. It goes on to say, I believe that Alcoholics Anonymous stands alone in the treatment of alcoholism because it is based solely on the principle of one alcoholic sharing with another alcoholic. This is what makes the program unique. When I decided that I wanted to stay sober, I called a woman who I knew was a sober member of AA, and she carried the message of Alcoholics Anonymous to me. She received no monetary compensation, but rather was paid by staying sober another day herself. Today I could ask for no payment other than another day free from alcohol, so in that respect I am generously paid for my labour, and that's what I came to in my conclusions about doing these videos, because it was a National Health Service medical people who said, why don't you make some videos for those people who still will not go to fellowship meetings and you see the benefit in them, and share something of what happens in your day and how the program works for you. And that was 7 years ago. Great. 7 years ago, goodness me. And I met a person from the medical centre who was not part of the medical centre but is part of AA and separates the two things quite distinctly. That they are a fellow in the fellowship of AA and will help anybody as much as they can, but they also have a day job which involves helping people in recovery, and they are able to make the distinction between the two. So a day job could involve helping others, but it's probably not, and it will not be based on saying, I am going to teach you how fellowship will keep you sober. It's about how to get to a place where the fellowship may work for you, which is to admit and accept the disease of alcoholism is making life impossible, and that sobriety is much preferred a day at a time, and then see what happens. So that's what I did. I went to fellowship in the end after so many attempts to stop on my own. Self-will ran riot because self-will failed me. I don't know what it is about this thing called addiction. It seems we always revert back to what we think may work again, but that's insane. So I had to let go of it and see what would happen next. Anyway, my thoughts for today. Old me back then, self-hate and self-harm, no ability to love. I'd lost the plot completely. Today, enough self-esteem to love, be loved and useful. And that's big, because I really never knew how to love, except to give, and always wondered why would anybody give me anything back. I had no sense of self-worth. I can love people and not like their behaviour, and develop forgiveness daily. And that came out of the meeting last night, really, around things to do with family, friends, community. Acceptance and forgiveness, progress not perfect, is a two-way street today. So I'm not perfect, and nor are other people. We're prone to make mistakes, and we can fall out of serenity, if you like, and peacefulness into vengefulness if we're not careful, if people tread on our toes or punch us on the nose. I know somebody way back when said turn the other cheek, but you know, what does that really mean? And the only answer is find out. I can't tell you what it means, because if you haven't been in a situation where fighting back with another slap across the face is going to make a difference, other than feel revenge and self-justified anger or justifiable anger, all we do is continue resentments. So whoever said forgive, forgive, forgive is right. So many people say it, not many know how to do it until it really happens in their own lives. So we can pay lip service to it until it serves us to take it on board in real life. And another one from today: I used to expect everyone had the same outlook as me. In other words, treat others as you might expect them to treat you. And I think that was drummed into me as a kid. But that rule, although I took it on board, didn't really seem to apply in many instances in my life. In fellowship we have principles which we learn sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, and for some, sometimes never. Forgive those who never do. They are a blinking nuisance to our serenity today. And don't forget, some people are not for changing no matter what. It can be that they are stuck in a malady or an ailment like I was, and trying to fix life always, and it's always your fault, not my fault. I'm sure we meet those people from time to time. Sometimes we look in the mirror and find they're just looking back at us right now. So forgive those who never do. They are a blinking nuisance to our serenity today. It doesn't mean we're ever going to change them. In fact, all we can do is be loving towards people and forgiving and accepting of who they are and where they are today. And if possible, walk around the issue, because confronting it in an unhelpful way will just cause us more bother. We can change our own attitudes and behaviour, but trying to change another person's attitude and behaviour is jolly difficult. Nay, no, some say impossible. I don't want to find out today. So if there are vexatious people around, let them get on with being vexatious on their own. I don't need to join in with them. Previous years, Alcoholics Anonymous will never have a professional class. As the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking, the doors are always open in the fellowship of AA. No class divisions, no separation, no hierarchy. We are always on the same page, on the same journey, one day at a time, although some will fall off the page, not really be in the day, and can be quite destructive one day at a time, because they're still learning, maybe, or they're having a bad time generally in life. So it's progress, not perfect, and sometimes one step forward, 2 steps back, 10 steps forward, somebody has a relapse and has to go back to the very first line of I am powerless over alcohol, and if I keep on drinking, life will remain unmanageable. But that's okay. We can still come back again and try again. A bit like Robert the Bruce and the spider in the cave. And if you don't know about that, please don't look it up. It will take you half an hour to find it. Robert the Bruce was a Scotsman who was always in trouble with the authorities because he had a better way of life for all the Scottish people. And he was sitting in a cave, and he was watching a spider trying to make a spider's web, and it kept blowing out or being blown away. But the spider was persistent and kept on going. So that's what Robert the Bruce did. He kept on going. Contrary to many films you may have seen on the TV or at the cinema, it was not like Braveheart, William Wallace. It was not quite like that. It was a good movie. Yeah. We bring experience, strength and hope to the fellowship and just for today. We become students in the master class of life. So we're all students, and anybody who calls himself a guru probably isn't, because if there are gurus out there, they just say, no, I'm learning. I'm just the same as you, same size, same place. They may have a few more words based on experience, but that doesn't mean I know the right path for you. Progress is dependent upon our spiritual condition, the ability to live in reality with least denial and without fixing ourselves with people, places and things. And then another year, acceptance of how we are today means we do not judge or control. And sorry, I missed a heartbeat because I've actually put the acceptance passage in here, which is in page 417 in the Big Book Online, courtesy of Alcoholics Anonymous. And this is how it reads: "And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing or situation, some fact of my life, unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing, happens in God's or our world as it may be today. In God's world by mistake. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Unless I accept my life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world, as on what needs to be changed in me and my attitudes." And that's one of the, it's just one paragraph in a 500-page book or thereabouts. But that was the one which captured me. It made me realise that life on life's terms, if I accept it as it is, I can be happy if it's happy, I can be sad if it's sad. So my feelings fit with reality, what's going on today. And acceptance is one of the most difficult but most rewarding understandings about life. Life on life's terms as it is. So our feelings, we develop our feelings in recovery, because before we probably didn't know what they were. We only allowed ourselves half the feeling or emotional being that we are, the good half. There is the other half as well. There is always a plus and a minus in life. It's like a seesaw. The closer to the middle though, the less we rock up and down. But if we're on the extremes of highs and lows, which alcohol, drugs and addictive behaviour offer, we can't sustain it, and then we get into paranoid traps of depression and looking over our shoulder at what we think is following us. And of course the only thing following us is our shadow, usually, unless we're a criminal or something, in which case we have good reason to be looking over our shoulder. But in recovery we can be open, honest and willing to change and live life where we can love, be loved and useful. And the usefulness is as we learn on a daily basis, as is love in general, to love and be loved back. It takes a lifetime, but we don't have to work on it one day at a time. The serenity prayer, which I say at the end of these videos, and is often said by me in the moment when I'm not quite sure what's going on, can do, can't do. I can change me, my attitudes and behaviour. Can do that. Can't do, can't change people, places and things, attitudes and behaviour of others. Yeah, but around that is freedom, by learning the wisdom to know the difference. So the freedom of choice is based on real life on life's terms. So that prayer to God or in good conscience, and it's as you come to understand for yourself. So you may just be very happy with good conscience, or you have a belief in God which is particular to you. It's what works for you which is important, not what works for me. Because I've tried working it the way other people worked it in my early days, and I was continually frustrated because I'm not a multimillionaire by now. I'm just making do. But I'm useful in some ways, somewhere, to me and others. And that's all that counts really, to be of service in the end, and a part of. So the serenity prayer, very useful when things are really well, or when they're really horrible, or just in between. It just reminds me where I am. So to God or in good conscience, as you choose. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. For me, always in the moment, and just for today.